Hey everyone! Today we're going to talk about one of the most brilliant and kind of paradoxical systems in the entire human body, the heart's own blood supply. It's a system that has to solve what seems like an impossible problem every single second of your life. So let's just dive right in. Just think about that for a second. The harder any other muscle in your body works, right? The more blood and oxygen it gets. But the heart, it's the complete opposite. It has to do its absolute toughest work at the exact moment its own fuel line is squeezed shut. This is the big puzzle we're going to solve today. So, yeah, that's the million-dollar question. How did evolution engineer a solution to this incredible challenge? How does this tireless pump manage to fuel itself when all the odds are stacked against it? The answer, as you'll see, is a total masterpiece of biological engineering.
And this slide really lays out the core problem perfectly. On the one hand, you've got the heart with this huge job, pumping blood to literally every cell in your body. But on the other hand, the very act of pumping, that powerful contraction, physically crushes its own arteries. It's in this constant battle between its workload and its handicap.
Okay, so let's get into the first part of the solution. You see, the heart isn't just passively waiting for blood to show up. No way. It's an active participant in its own survival. It has this incredible self-perfusion system. So the magic trick here is something called coronary perfusion pressure. In simple terms, the heart pumps blood out into the aorta, which creates a ton of pressure. Then, for that split second when the heart relaxes, that same pressure in the aorta actually pushes blood backwards into the heart's own coronary arteries. And this is what's so wild. The heart is the only organ that both creates the pressure and then receives the benefit from it.
And you better believe it needs a lot of fuel to do all this. I mean, even when you're just sitting there chilling out, about 5% of all the blood your heart pumps, that's around 250 milliliters every single minute, gets routed right back to feed the heart muscle itself. It just gives you a sense of its nonstop, massive energy demand.
Now what's interesting is that the plumbing isn't exactly the same for everybody. This whole idea of dominance just means which main artery is supplying a key vessel on the back of the heart. For most people, about 70%, it's the right coronary artery. And this little anatomical difference is actually super important in the clinic because it can change how serious a blockage is depending on your specific layout.
All right, so we've cracked how the heart gets its blood, but that's really only half the story. Now we've got to deal with the other huge challenge, its absolutely insatiable appetite for oxygen.
Get a load of this number. It's just incredible. The heart muscle is so good at its job that it pulls about 70% of all the available oxygen out of the blood that flows through it. To put that in perspective, most other tissues in your body only grab about 25%, so the heart is already redlining all the time.
And that right there, that creates a huge problem. If you're already taking 70% of the oxygen, you can't really take much more. So when the heart needs more fuel, like when you go for a run, there's only one move left. You have to dramatically increase the amount of blood flowing through the coronary arteries. There's no other option.
So how does it do that? This is where the whole system gets just elegant. When the heart works harder, its cells burn through their energy molecule, ATP. A leftover from that process is a chemical called adenosine. And adenosine acts like a direct signal to the coronary arteries, telling them, hey, open up wider. So the harder the heart works, the more adenosine it makes, and the more its own blood vessels expand to deliver more fuel. It is a perfect self-regulating feedback loop.
And the capacity for this is just huge. This ability to crank up blood flow by 4 to 5 times what it is at rest is called the coronary flow reserve. It's basically the safety buffer that lets your heart go from 0 to 60 when you need it to, without running out of gas.
Okay, so we figured out the pressure problem and the oxygen problem. But what about that first thing we talked about, that big paradox? How does the heart get any blood at all when its own contraction is squeezing the pipe shut? It's like trying to water your garden while someone is standing on the hose.
Well, the answer is all about timing. The heart gets almost all of its blood flow not when it's contracting, that's called systole, but in that brief moment between beats when it relaxes, that's called diastole. This is the heart's feeding time. And, this is why a really high heart rate can be so dangerous. It cuts short that absolutely critical time for relaxation and refueling.
This system does have a major vulnerability, though. The coronary arteries are what we call functional end arteries. Just think of them as roads with very few side streets or detours connecting them. So if a big traffic jam, a blockage, happens on one main road, there's no easy way for blood to get around it. And that's exactly what makes a heart attack so devastating.
But of course, the heart has adapted to deal with all this intense pressure.
The innermost layer of the heart wall, the subendocardium, is the part that gets squeezed the hardest and needs the most oxygen. So what did evolution do? It packed that area with a way denser network of tiny little blood vessels, capillaries, compared to the outer layer.
And here it is, the final, absolutely stunning paradox of the heart. You'd think, right, that the area with the most blood vessels would be the safest, but because that inner layer gets crushed the hardest during every single contraction, it actually becomes the #1 most vulnerable spot to a lack of oxygen if blood flow starts to drop. So when you put it all together, this self-generating pressure, the way metabolism perfectly controls blood flow, the precise timing of everything, you see a system that is it's beyond elegant. It's a whole series of brilliant solutions to a set of unique and totally life-threatening challenges. And that's really the big takeaway here. The very things that make the heart's circulation system so amazing, its complete reliance on that relaxation phase, its dead-end arteries, its crazy high oxygen use, are also the exact things that make it so fragile. You can't separate its genius from its vulnerability. They're two sides of the same coin. So, I'll just leave you with this to think about. Knowing that this incredible, high-stakes balancing act is happening inside your chest with every single beat, how does that change the way you think about this amazing organ, and maybe how you take care of it? Thanks for watching.